Hi everybody. Now we're going to be focusing on grammar and sentence structure is what I'm going to be talking about. This semester it's very important that we learn the correct sentence structure in English because every language is different. So let's start with the basic sentence structure. Subject, verb, complement. For example, computers are important in my life. Computers the subject, are verb important in my life. Then we start getting a little more complicated. So the subject can be longer than one word, right? It can have several words. So it can be a long subject, verb, and complement. For example, many people all over the world use computers daily. So many people all over the world is our subject. It's who are we talking about? What do? They use what? Computers. How often? Daily. So another example would be everybody in my family except for my father uses computers daily. So again, you have a very long subject, then a verb and a complement. All right. So let's now start adding elements before the subject. So one of the things we've learned this semester is to add a time or a place, word, or phrase before the subject. For example, in the past, that's a time phrase, there were no smartphones. I can also add a place phrase. In my country, smartphones are very expensive. There's a comma there, right? All right, so let's continue adding. One more thing that we can add, one more element we can add is a word when, or in this case, I'm also introducing if. However, pay attention. When I add when or if before the subject, I'm going to need a comma after my complement, and I'm going to need another subject, another verb, another complement. So, for example, when I go to school, I take my laptop. So if I put when in my sentence, I'm going to need a comma after after this first complement, and I'm going to need another subject, another verb, and another complement to make the sentence complete. The same thing with if. If I have homework, I use the internet. So as you can see, this is a more complicated sentence. It's longer. It's called a complex sentence. Now, let's move on to adding extra information. As you can see in this slide, extra information can be added after the subject, after the verb, or after the complement. Also, there's 3 types of punctuations that can be used. It can be commas, or parentheses, or dashes. Let's take a look at some examples. The information age, also called digital age, brings good and bad elements into our lives. So the information age is what I'm talking about. That's my subject. Brings is my verb. Good and bad elements into our lives is my complement. So I've added extra information right after the subject. This extra piece of information is related to the subject. It's another name we can call the information age, digital age as well. So I can eliminate the extra information from the sentence, and the sentence is still complete. The same thing with the next example. Many people commute, go to and from work digitally. So go to and from work is extra information about the verb commute. It's the meaning of the verb commute. I can remove it from the sentence, and the sentence is still complete. Many people commute digitally. Now, another example. The internet is also called the World Wide Web. And then www would be extra information. Actually, this could be dashes or parentheses. Next, let's take a look at some examples. Nowadays, that's time, millions of people, my subject, use verb computers daily. Another one, time, in the future, India may be more populated than China. Another example, digital devices, my subject, that's my extra information, extra piece of information, such as computers and iPhones, may become cheap. Remember such as? Now, this is a very beautiful sentence. It contains a lot of the elements that we just talked about. Nowadays, when people want to contact their family members, so it's a when sentence. When people want to contact their family members, they can instantly connect with them through digital devices. That's a when sentence. And then we've added an extra piece of information at the end. What kind of devices? Such as iPhones and iPads. All right. Now let's move on back to the online module.